The OL Reign are fighting for the playoffs. Seattle goes against the Bengals, and the Kraken are off to a very rocky start. Welcome back to another episode of the Seattle Sports Show where we love Seattle professional sports. I'm your host, Mikey. All right, we got a few things that we need to get to today. As you heard there in the opening, the first thing we're going to talk about is the Kraken. And unfortunately, things are not going good for the Kraken at all so far to start the season. We have started out the season now 0-2-1. 0 wins, 2 losses, and an overtime loss. And the team is not gelling. Our first game, we opened up against Vegas. All right, and it's they're the reigning champions. They're a good team. They had their big ceremony before the game started, so people were hoping, or Kraken fans, we were hoping that that was going to take a lot out of the Vegas players, and maybe that would give us a chance. It didn't turn out to be the case. They were, they were just allowing easy transitions, and Vegas is that good of a team. So again, I'm not a hockey expert, so to me, I'm not sure when I'm watching. It's like, okay, well, is Vegas that good, or is Kraken just that bad this year so far? And now that we're 3 games in, I'm thinking that the chemistry is not there so far. In that first game, we just saw how out of sorts and the chemistry is off with the team right now. We saw Tanev attempting to clear a puck, and when he did, he ricocheted off of another Vegas player, and it went right into the net. The only goal we got out of that one was McCann scoring off of a rebound. Ended up being 4-1 because there was an empty net goal that Vegas had late, but that was that. We went against Nashville. Again, same thing. Vegas, Nashville, St. Louis now. When we get a power play, we are not taking advantage of it. Same thing happened in Nashville. I was hoping after the first game, okay, well, maybe it was just the first game, but there we go. We go against Nashville and still can't take advantage of power plays. Still losing faceoffs. It still looked like they were lacking chemistry, and we ended up losing that one 3-0. And then tonight, St. Louis, maybe it's coming together because I felt overall they looked better. The defense in transition looked a lot better. The first couple of games, it just looked like they were not ready to get back on transition at all, and they were just giving up easy goals, right, and making it making it very hard on the goalie. Tonight looked better. Joey Decord was back there instead of Grubauer, so it was good that Grubauer got a break, probably just because how much work he did in those first 2 games. But Decord looked really good out there tonight. Again, just giving up the 1 goal. The defense was mostly better. There was still a couple of times where it was looking like, oh no, this is not good transition defense there. And based off the first 2 games, I'm not liking the way this is going to turn out. But Decord held his own. Um, we end up getting a goal, and we are able to get it into overtime. And then in overtime, I don't know what the Kraken are doing. Again, not a hockey expert, so maybe you like big hockey fans out there are gonna you watch the match tonight and you're gonna tell me, oh no, that's a perfect strategy in hockey, and that's perfectly fine what they were doing. That's a legitimate strategy, and you don't know what you're talking about. And I fully admit, and I've admitted it many times, I'm not a hockey expert. I've only gotten into hockey because the Kraken came here, and we're just now starting the third season. So, um, you know, I'm not going to pretend to be a hockey expert. But when I was watching in overtime, again, the other thing we got to mention here is that the Kraken are controlling the puck in all of these matches. Like the Kraken seem like they have the puck way more than the opponent, but they're not getting any good quality shots off, and that's what happened here tonight in overtime. It's just like they were just controlling the puck. They were fine to hold the puck and skate around with it and not take any shots. I was like, okay, well, are they trying to play to? Are they trying to get to the shootout? Like, why are they? Why are we not like being more aggressive here and trying to get a goal and end it here before it goes to a shootout? I don't understand. It was, to me, a little bit baffling. I was like, and again, since we're going into overtime and you change it to 3-on-3, you could tell maybe they were just worried about transition because even though out of the 5-minute overtime, we probably had the puck probably like 3 minutes and 30 seconds of the thing, but anytime St. Louis was able to get the puck from us, they were ready to transition, and we were not ready to transition to defense. And just like the two breakaways they had, I was nervous. It's not looking good for the Kraken right now. I'll tell you what. It's early, right? There's still 79 games left to go, right? So plenty of time to get things going. But yeah, when I'm watching it, I just don't see the chemistry out there. There was in one of these games, I remember it just seemed like, oh, they, like, again, just to point out the lack of chemistry, it seemed like there was one of the matches where I think it was against Nashville, where on one of their goals it looked like uh the Kraken, they were all like just like frozen in place and didn't know where the other skaters were gonna go, and they were just standing around and let an easy goal go in. Yeah, I hope that they can figure out uh, chemistry soon and figure out what they're gonna do to get things around quickly. I mean, let's see here. We're looking at we're 3 games in, so I mean, let's take a look. We're looking at wait, where's the? Oh, okay, here it is. We're looking at Avalanche coming up. We're looking at Rangers coming up. We're looking at Carolina coming up. We're looking at tough teams coming up, and we're already 0-3. I mean, I don't want to start out the season 0-6, right? So I got to see better shot selection as well. There's a lot of stuff this team is looking like they need to work on right now. I was very excited after last season, just the Kraken's second year in existence. They made the playoffs. So it was really, again, and me not being a hockey expert, I was ready to, like, oh cool, all right. They're in the playoffs this year. I'm ready to see what they bring next year and how far they can get next year. And right now, again, as a casual hockey fan, maybe somebody's gonna tell me, "Don't worry, it's all gonna be a okay, and there's nothing to worry about. We're still early in the season." But just based on what I'm seeing here in the beginning of the season, it's not looking like there's a lot promising, uh, to come. But let me know if you feel differently. All right, let's see here. Let's go ahead and we can talk about the Seahawks. All right, and let's pull up some things for the Seahawks. Let's look at the injury list. We got a game coming up against the Cincinnati Bengals Sunday, 10 a.m. So we need to figure out who do we got playing for us. Damian Lewis, he's likely to be out. He's doubtful. It sure would be great to have the guard back, but looks like that's not going to happen. Kobe Bryant placed on the IR today. He's obviously going to be out. Artie Burns, hamstring out. Phil Haynes they list him as questionable, but he's going to be back. Jamal Adams, he will be back. He passed concussion protocol. He's going to be back in this game, and I am excited about that. We're going to have Reek Woolen. We're going to have Devin Witherspoon. We're going to have Jamal Adams. This is, your heavy hitters that you want to see out there on the field all at the same time. Now, hopefully, all three of them can stay healthy all game long, and we could really see what this defense looks like with them on the field together, playing together, and how are they going to use Jamal Adams and Devin Witherspoon, and how just much is that going to put defenses, or I mean, not defense, opposing offenses on their toes. I mean, just think about it. Look at what Devin Witherspoon was able to do from that slot position, right? Getting those 2 sacks, and we know Jamal Adams, he's set a record for sacks from the safety position. Right now, when they're running their big nickel, imagine Jamal Adams on one side, you got Devin Witherspoon on the other side, and the other team, they don't know who's coming. And imagine just how that's going to work out for the Bengals this week, specifically. If that's what we're able to put on the field and they're able to produce, Joe Burrows, he's been dealing with that calf injury. He's looking like, based on last week, he's looking pretty healthy, right? He's looking like he's gonna get back to the old Joe Burrow, but we can make him uncomfortable, that's for sure. You got Jamal Adams coming on one side, you got Devin Witherspoon coming from the other side on play-by-play basis. You don't know who's coming. You could have the safety bearing down. You could have Bobby Wagner coming at you. I mean, just the having Jamal Adams back, and we've seen now what Devin Witherspoon can do in this defense. Having Bobby back this year, and them actually being able and being willing, I should say, to use him in blitzes. I mean, that's just going to cause so much chaos for other teams in trying to figure out where the pressure is coming from, when it's coming, when they're dropping back in coverage, and just how that can make it so hard on a quarterback on making their reads, right? So I'm very excited to see what this defense is going to look like with all the stars healthy. Okay, so that's what we're looking at our team. For them, it it's looking like their cornerback Awuzie, he's questionable. Um, their linebacker Davis Gaither is out. T Higgins is listed as questionable. Um, I didn't see anything if he was for sure going to play or not. I believe it really is one of those real game time decisions. But again, I sure would love to see him on the field. I'd love to see, whenever we play these teams, I always want to see the Seahawks at their best, obviously, but I like to see the opponents at their best as well. I'm not somebody who's like rooting for the other team to have injuries so that we don't face their best players. I want to face the best, and I want our best to face their best and to, um, win out that way. And not have any excuses, and or just have that those players that have that in their pocket to say, hey, we did it against the best, and that's why we're confident, because we know we can stop the best. There was a lot of talk on social media about what DK Metcalf said about Devin Witherspoon, and how he thinks he's going to get, that Devin Witherspoon is going to get the better of Jamar Chase. Everybody's got to remember that DK Metcalf was praising how good Jamar Chase was, and then just at the end he just threw in a little. But I think Witherspoon will get the best of him, right? I mean, nothing. So and they even asked Jamar Chase about it, and he said, yeah, he's just trying to hype his teammate up, and that's what an athlete should do. And Jamar Chase, he's funny. He's like, oh yeah, they got those two corners over there. One's shorter, one's taller, one's handsy, one's not as handsy, and they're not horrible. So really nothing bulletin board wise. So I don't think anything's a big deal, but you know if you can use that as motivation, any little thing as motivation, then it's not bad. I mean, Jamar Chase, maybe he's going to use that as motivation of like, oh well, DK said, he thinks Spoon's going to get the better of me, and if he does, then, or if Jamar Chase wins, then Spoon's probably not going to be too happy with DK for saying that. But I don't think it's going to be any sort of issue either way. I'm sure Spoon is I mean, you just hear that guy talk in interviews and see the way he acts out there on the field. He's the type of guy, it looks like he wants a challenge at all times, and he's up for the challenge and ready to take it head on. So let's see here. I mean, matchup wise, I think defensively, we can do well against this team. What we need to do is stop the run, and our defense has been doing that well this year. Okay, we cannot let Joe Mixon have a good week against us. We need to keep them one dimensional. We need to make sure that Joe Burrows is uncomfortable. So we're asking a lot from our defensive line once again this week. We want Draymond Jones to continue to show, because the first couple of games didn't look that great, right? But the last couple of games, Draymond Jones has really showed up and shown why he got that big contract to come here. So we want to see him continue that in this game. We want Jaron Reed to get that pressure up the middle as well. Nuosu and Mafe, we want them to continue doing what they're doing, and if they can get pressure on Burrows, with the corners that we have covering, I think we're going to have a good chance of slowing this offense down, because Joe Burrows again looked good last week, but you could tell he's still not completely healthy. He's still getting back in the swing of things, and we are a much tougher defense that he has to go against this week. So I think we could show that he's not quite back, or we can make it look like he's not quite fully back to form, and have the Bengals questioning themselves again. The for us offensively, again, we got a couple of lucky things going for us. We're getting Charles Cross back. Again, injury report wise, Phil Haynes looking like he's gonna play as well. So we're getting some of offensive linemen back, but especially Charles Cross coming back, to me that is a big deal. That's a tackle coming back. And if you didn't know, Seahawks are running the 12 and 13 personnel more than any other team in the NFL right now. 12 personnel, if you don't know, that means one running back, two tight ends. 13, one running back, three tight ends. That's one of the other reasons why people who are worried about why they haven't seen Jackson Smith and Jigma on the field is because we've had two tackles, our two starting tackles, injured. We've been using more 2 and 3 tight end sets to help those tackles with the blocking, so they don't have to. We don't have our backups coming in and feeling like they have more pressure on them. They're getting a little bit of extra help. But with the tackle coming back, I think Seattle can start getting to an offense that they saw themselves running before the season started. When they drafted JSN, getting more 3 wide receivers set out there, and just seeing how dangerous JSN can be in the slot. He can be dangerous anywhere on the field, but especially for the purposes of what we need on this team specifically, what he could do in the slot could break things wide open for this offense, and just help DK get open more, Tyler Lockett get open more. Again, if JSN is, he is a wide receiver, so you think you're running that 3 receiver set, that means a linebacker is going out for the defense. So if you're coming in on a run play, you want K9 going up against a corner versus a linebacker, right? K9 can take on a linebacker anyways, but if he's going against a corner, yeah, you like your chances for K9 to just juke that person out of their shoes, or we know he can lay a hit on somebody as well and run right through them, especially if it's going to be a smaller corner versus the linebacker. So JSN's helping you out that way. Not to mention, if he's running a route, how he's clearing out, that zone on the field for the running back to hopefully run to and have more open space to run in. And again, because of who we have at running back, specifically K9, and how good he is at being elusive and changing direction, how creating that open space on the field is just so much more beneficial to him. So I'm excited that we have a tackle coming back. Hopefully, we're going to keep getting all of our starting offensive linemen back soon, and I'm hoping that we're going to see more JSN on the field, and we'll see just how much that changes our offense. But I do expect him to see more in this game. But I do expect our running game to still be the thing that wins us the game. Again, this Bengals defense, pretty good. But I think this is another team that can be run on. Just so far this year, we've had a lot of good matchups just for the style that we have. They say styles make fights, right? And we've had a lot of good matchups that make the fight good for us. And I think with the way the Bengals run their defense, again, just like we had with the Lions, um, and the Giants, with how aggressive uh, they have of a defensive line, especially on the ends. I think we could take advantage of that with the style running game that we have. So I'm expecting another big game from K9 and Charbonnet, and just the running game in general, and that should help us, in the play action pass as well, and get those big chunk yards that Pete loves to get. All in all, it does look like Joe Burrow is getting back, so I expect this game to be closer. I do still expect the Seahawks to win this game. I do predict the Seahawks will win this game, and we will. Let's say we, it's an away game, early morning game for us. Those can be tough. So I think it's going to be a tough fought game, and we're going to win this one. Let's say 24-21. Okay, I'm going to say this one's going to be close. So let's get it. Let's go Seahawks, and I'm excited to watch that game tomorrow, and then of course to do the post game reaction after that game is over. So be on the lookout for that as well. Okay, we made our prediction for the Seahawks, so let's go ahead and let's move on to our next team. Let's go ahead and talk some Mariners. All right, and the Mariners, I don't really actually have much news to talk about. With what the team has actually had going on, but there's a couple of things that I just want to discuss. I heard this word used on Brock and Salk this week on the radio when talking about what this team did this last year, and a word that was used that I think is an important word when we're talking about what we want to see the team do coming into next season is augment. All right, when we see Jerry DePoto doing whatever he does this offseason, whatever moves they decide to make in the front office, what they decide to do, whatever it is, we have a young core on this team that they needed this last year to go out and sign players that were going to augment what they do, right? And they did not do that, and that's where this team failed. Okay, we need to get players that are gonna be that we can surround our young core that is going to help them look even better. I mean, Ty France did not look good at all this year, but if he had some other hitters around him, then maybe he doesn't have as much pressure on him to try to be, on some ridiculous level that you don't expect players to be on. Maybe when Julio is having a stretch, because every player in baseball has a stretch where they struggle. When Julio is having a stretch where he struggles, you have, people at the end of the lineup that can actually, hit for a decent average. It can even just hit the league average, not 70 points below league average. That kind of all that kind of stuff would help. I mean, I can only imagine. Julio, JP for a time, Kalanick this year, like how much pressure they were feeling to deliver because nobody else was for longer stretches, right? I can imagine, uh, again, Ty France feeling like, okay, he had a good year the year before, um, but then he's struggling, and then he sees how much more other people on the team are struggling even more than him. The players that they brought in are struggling even more than he is. That makes you feel like, okay, well, now I have to make up for that, and then that just doesn't work for baseball, right? When you're trying too hard, it gets even worse. So they need to sign players this year that are going to augment what the players they consider their core, and not just like go out there and go, well, you know, these guys uh, fit a certain stat line that we're looking for. Like, go out and try to sign some players that you know fit the chemistry of what your team is and what the idea of your team is, and what you're trying to build. Okay, and then the other thing I just had to mention because it's silly, right? So of course now we have made it to the AL and NL championship games, and everybody's looking, right? You look at the last four teams who have made it. You take the average of those of the wins of those teams, and what does it equal? 54%. Of course it does. Of course it does. uh, and you're going to see people saying like, "Oh, see, Jerry Dipoto was right," and they're going to defend him and say like, "Oh yeah, see, he was right the whole time. I bet he's feeling great about what he said now," and laughing that people are giving a hard time about that. Again, 54%. If that is something you're shooting for, that's still not okay. Not okay. That's not what you want to hear as a fan from your organization that you're a fan of. You don't want to hear that they are shooting for 54%. If you're telling me that's the least amount that you want to get every year, I understand. Over a 10-year period, that means you're going to get if that's your low point, that means you're going to get in the playoffs more often, and that should give you more chances. I love the whole idea of sustainability. I love what Pete and John are doing over in Seattle. Right? It's sustainable. They're good year in and year out, and that gets you more chances. But at some point, you have to sign players that are going to augment the other players that you already have and get you to the next level. So that's where the problem is with the 54%, and should still be the problem with the 54%. If they're telling you that they're okay with that, and you're a fan who says they should be spending more money, then you can't be okay with the 54%, because the 54% and then being okay with that is telling you, well, we're okay with not going out and buying better players because we're okay with just hitting a 54%. So that means no, we're not going to go out and get the big names that you want to see us get. We're not going to go out and get multiple players that you want to see us get. We're okay with just holding on to our guys in our farm system and not going after a bigger proven back because we want to, hold on to them so that we can sustain this 54%. No, no. I don't want to just sustain 54%. I don't want to hear my organization say, "Well, yeah, well, we're shooting for 54%." That's not what your goal should be. Your goal should not be 54%. You can tell me that, that's the worst we want to do is 54%, but that's not the goal. The goal should be win your division. That is the goal. Okay. Do you think Pete and John are ever going to say, well, we want to win 54% of our games every year? Which definitely that wouldn't get you in in the playoffs in the NFL. Hardly ever. I mean, I know we saw a 7-9 team in the Seahawks make the playoffs, but hardly ever you're going to see 54% make the playoffs for most NFL teams, right? So they're definitely not going to say that. But even they're even 9 wins, right? They're not going to say, "Oh, well, we're going to shoot for 9 wins," because if you at least get 9 wins every year, that means some years that you're going to be making it into the playoffs. I don't want to hear some years that you're going to make it into the playoffs. I don't want to hear 54% is going to get you into the playoffs uh, enough over a 10-year period. No, I want the goal to be to win the division. That should be the goal year in and year out, because it's possible. One, look, we see Houston now going to the championship game 7 years in a row. That should be your goal. That is what you should be aiming for now. You've torn everything down. You started building back up to do the rebuild, and we're what, 4 or 5 years into the rebuild now. It's time to get to the next level. You've built the foundation. Time to start putting on the other stuff. Okay, putting on the stuff to give us some flash. I don't want to be second place in the division. I want to win the division. I want to go to the championship series. I want to go to the World Series. So if you're a fan out there who is now all of a sudden saying, "Oh, well, look, the championship series games, you take those teams and you take their wins, it equals out to be 54% of how many games those 4 teams have won when you put them all together." Still, that's not the goal. The goal is to win the division. Look what 54% got us this year. They said 54% is the goal. They got 54%, and what did it get us? Third place in the division, out of the playoffs. The goal should be win the division, no matter what the percentage of win you get. Even if even if your division is so bad that you end up only winning 50% of your games that year, but that still gets you the division win, then so be it. That should still be your goal, though, is you look around your division and see what you need to do to win your division and go out and do it. If that means you need to go sign some more big names, then go do it. If that means you need to put together some smart trade packages to go get some more players that can help the team now, then go do it. I don't want to hear, "Oh, well, we didn't want to do it because we are afraid that if we traded this player away, or if we gave this player money and we were wrong this year, we weren't going to hit the 54%." I just I I don't want to hear that is the thought process. I don't want that to be the thing that's holding you back. Is that you're go, "Oh well, if I did it, then this year we're not going to hit the 54%." Well, I, just do what you need to do to win the division. Okay, I want to win the division, and I want to go to championship games, and I want to go to the World Series. I cannot stand Houston. I hate Houston, but that's where we want to be, right? We want to be the team that's in the championship game 7 years in a row. All right, that's what I have to say about Mariners. I just don't want to hear any ridiculous like, "Oh, yeah, look, Jerry's right." Let's go ahead and we can go ahead and we already talked Kraken. Let's do a quick hit on the Storm. All right, the Storm, they're currently in the offseason. Obviously, Gabby Williams, she's not going to be back in the WNBA with any team in 2024 due to prioritization. And with the way, the WNBA rules work with that, she's still got a year left. I think she's got like 2 years left on her contract or something with her team over there in France. And she's going to be doing uh the whatever her national team stuff is this upcoming year as well in 24. So she won't be able to join any WNBA team because of the prioritization rule. So obviously won't be back to the Storm. She says she will be back in WNBA for sure in 2025. We'll see if that ends up being with the Storm, but definitely no Gabby Williams for us next year. And another fun thing that I wanted to mention about the WNBA in general is obviously you probably heard that they are expanding. It's already been announced and confirmed that Oakland is the next WNBA team. And there's been a lot of speculation and reports, and it's sounding like Portland is going to be the next one to be announced at some point this year before the end of the year. And that is really exciting because who doesn't love a good Seattle Portland rivalry, right? As you know, I think I mentioned it at the beginning of this show, like on the very first episode when I was just kind of explaining who it was. I grew up in both Washington and Oregon, so I actually am a fan of both cities, and I've been a fan of teams in both cities because just that's how I grew up. I grew up in both places. I grew up with family in both places, and I have fun rooting for both cities and both teams when they are not facing each other. But the rivalries are a lot of fun, and it sure would be fun if Portland gets a WNBA team, and whenever they play against each other, I can root for the Storm to go and beat whatever the Portland team is going to be called. Right? That'll be fun, and it's going to be fun every year and every time they have a game against each other. So I'm excited for that. I'm really excited that they could be getting a team, and that we could have a new team to have a fun, friendly rivalry with. So that should be cool. Let's see here. That's all I have for the Storm. Sounders, they had a week off this week before they gear up for their last match. Again, their last match, is going to determine whether they get second place or all the way to like sixth place, I think. And let's go ahead and transition that into the OL Reign. All right, and so like we said, the Sounders, they could end up anywhere from second place to sixth place in playoff seeding. Well, right now the OL Reign are in sixth place in the seeding for NWSL, and that's last place. That's the last spot you can get for the playoffs, and basically. What needs to happen is the OL Reign need to win this last match. If they win, they're in, and that's all there is to it. If they win, they're in the playoffs. I mean, there's multiple outcomes that could happen. They could very well lose and get 0 points out of this match. But if that were the case, then they would need Orlando to lose. They would need LA to lose. They would need Louisville to only get a draw. So basically, the best thing the OL Reign can do for themselves is get a win. And same thing for OL Reign. If they do get a win, they could end up they could end up all the way up in third place in the standings. They could go from sixth all the way up to third with a win, depending on what the other teams do in their last match. So there's a lot riding on this last match for the OL Reign. and I sure would love for the OL Reign to get into the playoffs, because I don't want to see Megan Rapinoe's. I don't know why. I think I did that in the last episode too. I know when I talk in conversation with Megan Rapinoe, I just say her name correctly. But then when I'm reading it on the screen in front of me, I don't know why I pronounce it wrong like that. But Megan Rapinoe, I don't want to see her last game ever on Sunday. I want that to be the last regular season game she plays, but I want Megan Rapinoe to be playing in the playoffs this year as well. And again, I think if we do win, and depending on what the other teams do, if we do end up in third place, I think at some point we could potentially host a playoff game at home as well, I think is what I heard. So we could have her back home. We could have an extra last home game for her, but even more meaningful to the team wise because it would be for the playoffs, right? So, again, their last match is Sunday as well at 2 p.m. So the Seahawks game should be done by then. So if you're watching the Seahawks game, turn it right on over to the OL Reign and cheer them on, and hopefully they get a win and get themselves in playoffs again. Luckily, we are going against the team that is in very last place in the league as our last game. So hopefully that means we can score some goals and get a win over them, so that we can move up in the standings. Well, just at least guarantee our spot into the playoffs. But then hopefully, depending on else what happens in front of us, get jump way up in the standings as well. All right, there's your OL Reign. Actually, I have one more thing I wanted to mention. Talking about that, Megan Rapinoe's last game. Well, with her last home match, we know that NWSL set a record for the most attendance to a game of any NWSL team. Well, now the numbers have come in, and Megan Rapinoe's last home game was also the most watched regular season game in history for the NWSL, with 683,000 people tuning in to watch Megan Rapinoe's final home game. So that is awesome as well. Okay, so there you go. There's that, and then of course, the other team that we like to cover because I love football so much is the Sea Dragons, and the XFL. They're dependent on a lot of other things, right? It's just not as big of a league or big of an off season that you're going to get from the NFL. So there's nothing really to go over with the Sea Dragons right now. Maybe when we get closer to the spring and we're finding out what players, from around other leagues, or from college or whatever, or players trying to get back into the NFL that got cut during the year. Then we'll find out closer to then who's trying out for XFL for the spring league. So. We'll see when we get news for them. But for now, that's all we got. And for now, that is going to be the episode. That's going to be the show. I appreciate you listening. I'd love some feedback. I'd love to know, I guess I'd love to know all sorts of things. I want to know, do you think the Seahawks can defeat the Bengals? Type of why in the comments if you're thinking yes. If you are a big hockey fan, I want to know what's your worry level right now on the Kraken. Again, for me as a casual fan of hockey, and maybe I'm just not, there's things that I'm not seeing. Maybe they're just on the verge of breaking out and you're watching them and you're going, oh no, they're so close, don't worry, they're going to be just fine, let me know. But just as a casual fan, I'm watching them and I'm going, oh, this does not look good to me. So let me know if my novice hockey eyes are wrong in that. And then Mariners fans, please let me know. Are you one of these people who are now you did the math of the four remaining teams and added all their teams to get all their wins together and figured out that it was 54% and you feel like, oh, actually it's okay what Jerry said? Please tell me you're not one of those people. One, but if you are, you know, tell me as well. Let me know in the comments how you're, how you're feeling about the Mariners. Does the fact that the remaining four teams, if you added all their wins together, it equals 54%, does that make you more confident in what the Mariners are doing going forward, or does it not change your stance like me? It didn't change my stance at all. It's still, that's not what I want to hear. That's what the team is going for. I want to hear the team is going for division wins. Yeah, that's gonna be the episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Seattle Sports Show, where we watch legends awaken and breathe fire. So take cover, because with the sea of sound you will see us rise to reign supreme and win forever.